Leo friends, something big is unfolding this week, and I want to be honest with you from the very beginning. Between September 21st and 27th, a powerful shift will take place in your life. It might look like an ending, maybe even a goodbye you didn't expect. But right behind it, something greater is waiting, and yes, it has to do with a lot of money, justice, and the return of something that was long overdue. This isn't just another horoscope. This is a message that found you for a reason. And I want you to really sit with this. What if the thing you've been praying for, clarity, financial relief, peace, has been circling around you, just waiting for a door to open? Sometimes, that door doesn't open with fireworks. Sometimes, it opens after something gets laid to rest. Whether it's a chapter in your career, an old version of yourself, or even a relationship that's run its course, this week marks the final breath of something. And the first step toward everything you've been waiting for. You might not be able to name it yet. You might just feel it in your chest like a strange pressure, or a quiet voice that says, something's ending. And I'm not sure what comes next. If that sounds like you, you're not alone. This week, the cosmic energy is setting up a moment of deep realignment for Leo. The Sun enters Libra on September 22nd, followed by a new moon on the 25th, and for you, that means money, contracts, inheritances, or long-delayed breakthroughs could finally move forward. But here's the truth, that money, or that breakthrough, may only come after you say a real goodbye. Not a half-hearted one. A real, honest, soul-level release. This energy feels like a funeral, not in the heavy, tragic sense, but in that moment when everyone goes quiet, and there's nothing left to do but let go. That kind of silence is sacred. It prepares the ground for rebirth. And that's what you're stepping into, a new era where what was once blocked starts to move again in your favor. You've been patient. You've been faithful. And now, what's yours is making its way back to you. But only if you're willing to make space. So I'll ask you something directly. What are you still holding on to out of fear, habit, or guilt that might be standing in the way of your breakthrough? It could be resentment, pressure to perform, a toxic loyalty, or a version of yourself that no longer feels real. Whatever it is, this is the week to bury it. Not with anger. Not with shame. But with peace. With gratitude. With maturity. Because after that burial, and yes, it may be quiet and invisible to others, there's a financial and emotional reward waiting. It's real. And it's closer than you think. If this message touches something in you, I want to hear about it. Take a moment and leave a comment below that says, I'm ready for justice and financial release. Write it like you're signing a sacred contract with yourself. That kind of intention carries power. Let me take a second to say thank you. Your presence here, your comments, your support, your subscriptions, they mean more than you know. You've helped grow this space into a home for clarity, honesty, and spiritual growth. You're not just a viewer. You're part of a soul-aligned community here at Eternal Mindfulness. And believe me, Leo, you'll want to stay with me all the way through this video. Because what the universe is revealing to you right now is nothing short of divine timing. So let's begin. Leo, the week of September 21st to 27th unfolds like the still moment in court, just before a verdict is read. The room is silent. You can feel it in your chest, that pulse of justice coming. And whether you've been expecting it or not, something is about to be made right in your life. This is more than astrology. It's a cosmic recalibration. When the sun moves into Libra on the 22nd, it brings with it a shift in the lens through which we all view the world, especially you. Libra is about fairness, truth, the scales tipping back into balance. But more importantly, it's about relationships, not just with others, but with yourself, your money, your time, and your purpose. For you, Leo, this shift shines a light on what you've been carrying for too long. Maybe you've been trying to hold everything together, convincing yourself that loyalty is more important than inner peace. Maybe you've avoided speaking up about something that's felt deeply unfair, for fear of rocking the boat. But this is not a week to stay quiet for the sake of appearances. This is a week to recenter, not with aggression, but with clarity. The new moon in Libra on the 25th comes in like a quiet whisper of permission to start again, to renegotiate what doesn't feel aligned, and to finally set new terms in the contracts spoken and unspoken that have defined your life. These aren't just external agreements. These are soul-level contracts, the promises you've made to others, to your past self, and even to the version of you that no longer fits. This new moon doesn't ask you to act impulsively. It invites you to reflect, and from that reflection, plant the first real seed of change. And then, just as the Libra energy encourages balance, Venus, your ruling planet of love, beauty, and value, forms a challenging but necessary angle with Saturn. This aspect can feel heavy, like a quiet test of what's real and what's not. It might show up as a delayed payment, a conversation about shared resources, or a truth in love that finally needs to be faced. But this isn't punishment. It's refinement. Venus in Leo wants to shine, to be seen, to feel wanted. But Saturn doesn't allow shortcuts. It asks, can this last? Can you commit to it fully? And if not, are you willing to let it go? So, you might feel torn this week. One part of you wants freedom. Another part wants security. One voice inside you says, I deserve more, while another whispers, but what if this is all there is? The tension is real. But so is the opportunity. This is the moment where faith becomes more than a word. Not the kind of faith that requires no doubt, but the kind that is built inside doubt, the kind that survives long nights, unanswered questions, and the weight of uncertainty. Sometimes, in our busiest seasons, faith looks like quiet decisions, the phone call you finally make, the no you finally say, the truth you finally speak. These small actions, planted like seeds in the soil of everyday life, can grow into entire forests of restoration. You're not being asked to flip your whole life upside down this week. You're being asked to be honest about one thing, what no longer fits. And not because it's bad, but because you've outgrown it. Just like a seed has to split before it grows, something in your world is cracking open, not to break you, but to expand you. So, as these astrological energies unfold, notice where your heart feels tight. Pay attention to the contracts you're living by, spoken or silent. Ask yourself, who am I doing this for? Does this still reflect the person I'm becoming? You'll find that what's meant for you begins to feel peaceful. And what isn't will start to feel impossible to pretend about. If you've been carrying the weight of holding it all together, this is the week to set it down. Not all at once. Just enough to breathe again. And if any of this stirs something in you, a quiet knowing, a sense that you're being called to show up differently, leave a comment below that says, I am ready to step into balance. That's how the shift begins. With one honest step. One grounded yes to yourself. Sometimes, Leo, we think we're waiting on money, but the truth is money is waiting on us. Not just on our effort or intelligence, but on our ability to release what we've outgrown. This week brings a powerful reminder. Something is trying to come into your life, something valuable and aligned. But it won't fight you for space. It will wait until you let go of what's taking up the room. In astrology, when we talk about financial flow, we often look to Jupiter, Venus, or the second house. But sometimes, the key isn't in where expansion happens. It's in what needs to end. That's where the death card comes in, not to warn or punish, but to invite. It asks you to take a deep breath and consider, is there something in your life that's expired, even if it still looks alive on the surface? Death, in the tarot, doesn't always mean someone passing away. Most of the time, it points to an identity, a role you've played, a version of yourself you've clung to, or even a belief about how money must be earned, deserved, or withheld. Think about it. How often do we hold on to a story because it's familiar, not because it's true? Stories like, I have to struggle for everything, or, if I let go, I'll lose control. We wear these like second skin, not realizing they keep abundance locked out. But this week, something shifts. The cosmic energy, especially with the sun in Libra and the new moon approaching, doesn't just want to bring balance. It wants to help you start clean. And here's the part that most people miss. Financial blessings often come right after emotional clarity. That's why this moment feels like a burial. You're not just letting go of a person, a job, or an object. You're laying to rest the emotional weight tied to it. The disappointment. The resentment. The false sense of safety. And in that quiet release, you make space for what's next. Here's something I've learned after working with hundreds of people over the years. Prosperity isn't just about income. It's about energy. When you're carrying a drawer full of clutter, physical or emotional, it's hard to receive anything new. So if this resonates with you, try this. Sit down tonight and write, just for yourself, a list of what you're ready to release. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be honest. Then, go to your physical space, your home, your desk, your closet, and remove one thing that no longer reflects who you are becoming. One object. One item of clothing. One paper you've held on to. That act alone sends a signal to the universe. I'm ready. I'm willing to make room. This is also a powerful time to look at your emotional agreements, the unspoken ones. The roles you play that leave you exhausted. The people you try to rescue even when it costs your peace. The standards you uphold just so others won't feel uncomfortable with your growth. Let those go. You don't have to carry everyone's expectations into your next season. And if you're still unsure where to begin, start with this thought. What no longer nourishes me? What do I continue doing out of fear, not love? Your answers won't always be loud. Sometimes they arrive quietly, like a gentle knowing in your body. Trust those moments. They're not weakness. They're wisdom. Now, if this message stirred something inside you even slightly, I invite you to ground that energy. Leave a comment below that says, I allow what no longer serves me to dissolve, so something new can enter. You don't have to explain. Just state it, with clarity. That's more powerful than you realize. You see, when we stop clinging, the blessings stop circling. They finally land. And when they do, they don't feel like a miracle. They feel like something that was always meant to be yours, but now you're finally ready to receive it. Sometimes, Leo, justice doesn't show up with a bang, it returns like a tide. Quiet, steady, undeniable. And this week, whether you realize it or not, that tide is turning in your favor. You've walked through seasons where you gave more than you received, where your integrity was questioned, where you carried silent burdens and stood tall even when it hurt. Now, something begins to shift. Not because you demanded it, but because you've stayed true. That matters. The universe doesn't forget alignment, even when people do. The Justice card reminds us that truth has its own gravity. You don't need to prove yourself endlessly for things to fall back into place. Sometimes, truth just rises. It may take time, sometimes more than we like, but eventually, it finds its way to the surface. And this week, it shows up through real things, contracts, decisions, clarity, and correction. We're talking about inheritances that were left in silence, financial agreements that once overlooked your worth, relationships where your side of the story was never heard. That's the kind of justice we're entering now. Not symbolic but concrete. Astrologically, Venus forming a tight aspect with Saturn adds weight to everything related to value, love, and structure. If something is being renegotiated in your life, especially around money, housing, family arrangements, or shared responsibilities, trust that the universe is pressing pause not to punish you, but to bring balance. These are moments where you might hear from an old employer, a family member, or a partner, moments where the scales finally start to level out. But here's the key: you have to be present to claim what's rightfully yours. This isn't just about wealth. It's about your name. Your place. Your truth. Sometimes justice is as simple as being seen clearly after being misunderstood for so long. Sometimes it's someone finally admitting, you were right. Sometimes it's life quietly saying, I see what you did and I'm making it right. But none of that happens if you stay quiet out of fear or politeness. This is your time to speak. Not to shout. Just to stand. I know that can be scary. Especially if you were taught to keep the peace at all costs, or to accept less because, at least it's something. But the truth is, when you settle for less than what's fair, you teach the universe that you're okay with imbalance. That stops now. Justice is about restoring what was lost, not just financially, but emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. It says, what was taken will be returned. What was hidden will be revealed. What was denied will be restored. So, here's something practical you can do this week. Look at the parts of your life where fairness has felt absent. Is there a contract that needs reviewing? A financial mistake that needs correcting? A conversation you've been avoiding because it might get uncomfortable? Lean into it. Gently. But don't ignore it. Your growth isn't just about releasing the past, it's also about reclaiming your voice in the present. And let's be honest, money matters here too. If you've ever lost financially because someone didn't keep their word, or because you were afraid to ask for more, now is the time to be clear. Review your accounts. Track what's owed. Look at long-term investments. Not from a place of scarcity, but from wisdom. The energy of this week supports people who manage their money with care and intention. So think beyond the moment, think legacy. Finally, if this resonates, if there's even a small part of you that's been waiting for fairness to return, I invite you to anchor it. Take a moment and write in the comments, "I trust that divine justice is unfolding." Not because everything is perfect yet, but because your belief creates space for it to arrive. Justice is here. Not loud, not flashy, but steady, grounded, and right on time. Sometimes we think we're walking alone, but if we slow down just enough, if we quiet the noise for a heartbeat, we might notice something deeper happening beneath the surface. You might find yourself drawn to certain memories this week, old photographs, a scent that reminds you of your grandmother, a phrase someone used to say that suddenly echoes in your mind. That's not coincidence. That's connection. And for you, Leo, this week's energy gently places your hand in the hand of someone who came before you. Someone who may no longer be physically here, but who never really left. The Six of Cups and Judgment together form a powerful message. One part of this message is nostalgic, yes, but the deeper layer is about spiritual inheritance. Not just material legacy like money or property, though that could be part of it. This is about healing what came before you, and in doing so, you open doors that were once closed. Sometimes, you are the answer to a prayer that was whispered generations ago. Sometimes, your courage to do things differently, to say no to dysfunction, to choose growth over guilt, to speak when others stayed silent is the very thing that frees not just you, but your entire bloodline. That's what this week holds. It's not light work, but it's sacred. The kind of sacred that doesn't ask for a spotlight, but leaves you stronger in its quiet completion. If you've been feeling like something bigger is moving through your life lately, like you're being guided or protected in a way you can't quite explain, trust that feeling. It's not your imagination. That's ancestral energy. That's the love of someone who once faced their own battles and now watches you fight yours, cheering for you from the other side. And here's the truth, you are the bridge. You carry stories in your DNA, some spoken, some buried in silence. When you heal something in yourself, the fear of not being enough, the belief that you have to earn love through performance, the habit of shrinking so others feel comfortable, you don't just heal it for you. You offer release to the ones who carried that burden before, and you plant something freer for the ones who come after. That is legacy. If this resonates, I invite you to ground this connection in something tangible. Take a moment this week to write a letter, not to a person still living, but to an ancestor you feel close to, or maybe even one you never met. Thank them. Honor what they went through, even if you don't know the whole story. Let them know you feel their presence. And if you feel called, create a small space for them in your home. It doesn't have to be elaborate. A photo. A flower. A candle. What matters is the intention. What matters is the conversation, the quiet one, the sacred one, between you and those who paved the road before you. Color also speaks this week, and if you're someone who responds to symbolic energy, consider wearing emerald green. It opens the heart, and it carries the frequency of lineage and healing. You may also feel drawn to touches of metallic gold, not to show off, but to remember your worth, your inner royalty, your connection to something ancient and abundant. Let this be a week where you remind yourself, I come from strength. I walk with guidance. I am not alone in this. And if that's something you feel, I encourage you to write in the comments below, I walk with my ancestors and the truth of my soul. Your words carry energy. Your declaration creates space. And in that space, things begin to shift within and around you. After everything you've walked through, Leo, you're no longer the same, and that's the point. You've let go, you've stood up for truth, you've remembered where you come from. And now, the spotlight that once made you feel like you had to perform, shifts. It's no longer something external you chase. It becomes the warmth you carry inside. That's what the sun brings you this week, not just joy, not just optimism, but clarity. The kind that rises from within when you no longer need to pretend. You're no longer living for applause. You're choosing alignment. And that changes everything. When the sun appears with the King of Wands, Ace of Cups, the Tower, and the Six of Wands, it paints a very real picture of transformation. But not the kind where everything becomes easy overnight. This is the kind that comes after the storm, when you've cleaned up the pieces, and realize you don't need what broke down because what you're building now is stronger, simpler, more true to you. There's a moment in every life where we get to decide, do I keep performing the role others gave me, or do I rewrite the script? That's the crossroad you're at right now. Not because you failed, but because you've outgrown it. The Tower may have come through maybe recently, maybe in quiet ways, but it shook something. Maybe it was a false relationship. Maybe it was the illusion that success equals self-worth. Maybe it was just exhaustion from trying to be everything for everyone. Whatever it was, you're not meant to rebuild the same structure. You're meant to build something better. Something real. And in that process, you meet a version of yourself that's both softer and stronger. The Ace of Cups opens the heart, but not in a fragile way. It's an emotional renewal that comes from learning to hold your own truth without apology. You begin to recognize that your feelings are valid, but they don't get to steer the wheel. Your inner world becomes your guide, not your chaos. That's why health matters now, too. Your nervous system has been on alert for far too long. And even if you've learned to function with that tension, your body is asking for something different now. More sleep. Better rest. A new rhythm. You don't need to power through, you need to power inward. Notice where the burnout hides: in your shoulders, in your gut, in your calendar. Start there. Even 5 minutes of honest rest can do more for your clarity than another hour of forcing things forward. When it comes to your work or purpose, you may feel a tug, like something's shifting. That's not restlessness. That's awareness. Maybe the role you're in no longer matches the person you're becoming. Maybe you're meant to teach now, not just perform. Maybe you're ready to lead, not with force, but with example. Look at your environment. Is it reflecting the strength you've worked so hard to claim? If not, that may be the signal it's time to move. Financially, this isn't the week to take risky leaps. It's a time for steady ground. Review your foundation. Where are you spending out of habit rather than intention? Where can you simplify and rebuild? Real wealth comes when you stop proving and start planning. When you stop chasing more and begin honoring what you have. And in love, the Ace of Cups asks you to be honest. Are you filling space, or are you truly connecting? Do they see the version of you today, or are they still talking to your past? You deserve someone who recognizes the healing, the bravery, the growth. Someone who doesn't need to fix you, but who's willing to walk beside you as you bloom. So let me ask you, not from a place of pressure, but of possibility, Are you ready for this new version of you? Not perfect, not polished, but real. Bright in a way that doesn't demand attention but naturally draws it. Leo, your light isn't something you need to fight for. It's something you finally get to relax into. And if you feel that stirring inside, that quiet yes, let it guide you. Go ahead and type in the comments, I'm ready to rise in my truth and shine without fear. That declaration doesn't just live in words. It begins something in your energy. It's a signal to your life that you're no longer hiding, no longer shrinking, no longer performing. You're ready to be seen for who you truly are. And you're ready to lead, not with volume, but with presence. That's what this week is calling you into. And I can tell you, from experience, there's nothing more powerful than a Leo who leads with their heart fully awake. So here we are, dear Leo, standing at the very edge of a threshold that no one else can cross for you. You've been through the storm, the silence, and the shedding of roles that no longer feel like home. You've watched parts of your life, maybe even parts of yourself, quietly fade away. Not because you failed, but because they've served their purpose. That chapter needed to end, whether with tears or with a deep exhale, so the next could begin. And that next chapter? It's waiting for you with open arms, filled with light, clarity, wealth, and above all, a sense of inner sovereignty you may have never known before. This week's energy has reminded you of who you truly are when you're not apologizing for your light. When you stop shrinking to fit, or bending to please. You are not just stepping into a better life, you are becoming the version of yourself that your past self always hoped to meet. One who trusts their inner voice, walks boldly toward abundance, and knows how to stand still in truth even when the world shakes around them. It takes courage to release what no longer nourishes you. It takes faith to walk away from roles that kept you safe but small. And it takes strength to admit, I deserve more, not because I've earned it by suffering, but because I'm finally ready to receive it. That's the beauty of this moment. You're not waiting to be chosen anymore. You are the one who chooses. You choose what stays. You choose what grows. You choose the light. Now, I invite you to do something powerful. Take this moment to write in the comments, I am ready to receive what is rightfully mine. This isn't just a sentence. It's a declaration, a signal to your subconscious and to the universe that you're no longer playing small. That you are open, available, awake. When you put it in writing, something shifts. Try it and feel the energy move. And if this message spoke to your spirit today, if you found even one sentence that made your chest soften or your eyes tear up, then I kindly ask, like this video, subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness, and stay with us on this journey. Your support is not just a number on a screen, it allows this space to continue being a home for the soul, a temple for truth, and a mirror for the light within you. Thank you, truly, from the deepest part of my being, for being here. For showing up. For listening not just with your ears, but with your whole heart. And before you go, let me leave you with this final truth, one I know you already carry deep down. You don't need to be chosen. You are the one who chooses light. And that, Leo, is how you change everything.